This is a little low tunnel greenhouse type of situation that's right by the house. Here's the house, it's right in front. There's a little bit of strange placement here because directly to the south there's this garage, so that blocks some winter sun, but hasn't proven to be too big of an issue. Anyway, what I wanted to share here is that I am changing this over from annuals production for the farm to more tree nursery space. It's been a really challenging spot for us to grow vegetables in here. We have some good shoulder season crops sometime, some early season arugula or spinach, but it's really not enough for our market demand, and it just hasn't really, we haven't gotten the best use out of it. So I think I'm just gonna switch our seeding needs for that to another space, and then have this space devoted to perennials. So what I'm doing is reshaping here. Before we just had straight rows going down, 18-inch spacing, or 16-inch spacing rather, for, you know, whatever it was, arugula, lettuce, things like that. But it's always been challenging. I found this, the frame here, very basic stuff. A greenhouse was giving it away. Oh no, actually this one I just found on the property, but you can find these really easily. Found another one like this at a greenhouse that was scaling up, and these old low tunnels are not usually of that high value. So if you ever see a big greenhouse operation and you want to get something like this, they're pretty available. And anyway, it's low, and getting into these corners over here, you can imagine, is pretty awkward if you're trying to go lengthwise. If you're trying to walk down this way, it doesn't work out very well. So I'm actually using the keyhole pattern here. As you can see, I'm digging out the center trench quite deep, so that I have more clearance for my head. And then on the sides, I'm digging out channels. And the idea here being that I'll be able to come down this channel and reach into the center of the bed to plant, weed, whatever it is. And on the other side, this allows me to reach in from there. So each bed is designed more or less for me, my size reach, and each one of these beds will be able to hold, oh, I don't know, maybe 100 trees in here. You can put trees on, you know, first year seedlings. I can put them on 4-inch spacing if you want them to get pretty big, 2-inch spacing if you don't really mind them not growing on too much. And part of me had thought about taking the whole greenhouse structure down, because it really does make irrigation very challenging. You often have extremely dry soils. I mean, we're in a droughty year, but these soils are very dry. There's some mushroom mycelium here growing in some wood chips that are really old, but irrigation can be a real issue unless you have a good system in place, and I don't here. I'm thinking of trying to catch all the water off of this roof and have it gravity feed into some drip tape in here. So I'll update on that later, but that's ultimately going to be the plan here, because if we have to come in here and irrigate with a hose, it's not that it can't happen, but I do try to minimize my use of that. And it's also not a super high priority often, or it hasn't been, which is part of the reason why we haven't gotten good value out of this, because there's a lot of other things going on and we kind of forget it by the wayside. So that's why I wanted to have a passive system that's just constantly watering with maybe drip tape or soaker hoses under the wood chips. And I think instead of the cheap drip tape that often gets chewed up by rodents and leaky, I might do some permanent drip tape, which basically involves finding old hoses and just drilling holes in them. And that's pretty much a lifetime drip tape system. So I'll update more on this. I'm gonna dig these paths out. We're gonna fill the paths with wood chips. I've already spread 4 wheelbarrow loads of compost from the chicken yard, which is not a really crazy application, but I think I spread it. I'm gonna put soil, so you can see this bed here has just a little bit on top. This one here, I've put it on top, but then I dug out the paths and put more soil on. And that's all topsoil. And then I'll probably put a little bit more compost on top. So this will be a very deep, very mixed bed. It's probably going to end up being, 18 inches deep of loose mixed topsoil with compost. So I think next year's trees are going to be extremely happy. The other thing is, I don't know if they're around right now, but the cats, you don't see any right now, but they generally live, you can see their little door there. They generally live here next to the chickens. They come out and they patrol this area really well. Now, we just got them in the spring and they're always around here in the evening and overnight. And so I think I might be able to get away with planting some nut trees in here in the fall, which normally I don't do because they all get eaten up over the winter and in the spring by rodents. But I think this is going to be really well patrolled by them. So I'll update a little bit more once this project's done.